All right, circle up, everybody. Circle up. Updated thoughts here.
We've been grinding tape.
You said that like a joke.
No, I'm dead serious.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to the DNVR Nuggets podcast.
Let's go. Let's go.
I feel like we needed like 5 more minutes before the show started. You know what?
For sure.
Like, we're like 5 minutes like scrambling out the door here.
That's true. Just 5 more minutes, that would have done it.
Quick shout out. Red Hawk Roofing, presented partner all week long. Maybe regretting sponsoring this week.
Yeah, you guys are not going to like this one, Red Hawk. You guys are not going to like. We'll give you your money back.
But we still love you, Red Hawk Roofing. We're also in the Xfinity studio.
Throw 'em up.
Xfinity here. Man, draft night, such a whirlwind. Both of them, head spinning. On the phone last night, all night, just trying to make sense. What's left, what's right, what's up, what's down. Still don't feel like I have a great grasp of it, but we're going to talk through it anyway. Over here, Brendan Vogt.
What's up, guys? I am so happy to be here. I wish I was happier. I wish, everything was great in Nuggets land at all times. It's just not where we are anymore. Do you guys remember 2023? Did you make sure to file it away?
Dude, I do. That was the year they won the championship.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, it was a good time. Hey, you know what? I'm not all doom and gloom. I'm just sad.
No, just in general.
I'm just nervous over here.
I was gonna say you guys sound like you need to watch some Trevon Brazile highlights.
that wasn't a draft
You guys
take.
seem a little too depressed.
No, that's just a general.
I honestly am not.
Turn on the
I
tape.
can't allow myself to get too depressed. I'm more nervous. I'm not gonna lie. I'm nervous, but I'm not depressed. Harrison went.
Yeah, I mean, I was up late watching Trevon Brazile highlights, man. Guy's electric.
He is electric.
He is
that is one thing.
else, yeah.
I will say that. He is very electric.
Pretty fun.
Pretty athletic player, man, that I think will be interesting.
Athletic.
So we're going to give extended thoughts on that now that, to be honest with you, he is a guy that I didn't know a whole lot about when they drafted him last night. A little bit, but not a whole lot. You get to go in and kind of read everything you can, watch everything you can, and get some updated takes. So we'll get to those as well, by the way, as Bryce Hopkins, another guy they got that we should talk about as well.
Yeah.
But I want to start with...
Is CT calling in?
He's not calling in today.
Damn,
He's not
okay.
calling in today.
Right.
I do want to start, though, that the Nuggets had a press conference last night. And, it's not... We haven't seen that many Tenzer Wallace pressers, if you think about it. How many do you think we've seen? 6?
Are you saying with
In total?
The,
In total.
Yeah, like 4 or
with
5,
Josh
or-
Kroenke or without?
Well, yeah,
Without, it's only been like 2.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So it's not
Last
like
night
we've
was a
seen
rare
lot.
one without him.
It was a chance to kind of get updated thoughts. So let's get into it. You were there, Vogt.
I was.
Take us behind the scenes.
Yeah, Ben Tenzer, John Wallace did not waste much time getting down there to talk to us about their 2 draft picks, about the process, the thought process, the rationale behind trading back, as well as the offseason at large. So we've broken this down into chunks for you. We will start, guys, with just really where the draft started for the Nuggets, which was originally at 26. They trade back to 35. They net 2 future second rounders as well. John Wallace had this to say about how they handled the first round. Now, obviously, we have guys we liked in the first round who went a little higher than expected, and it got a little expensive to move up. Ultimately, he said they decided to replenish their assets. He did say they tried to make some moves to get up. It just didn't work out. This was a point guard heavy draft. So with the field that's what there was to look for in terms of trade up options. And he said, we're not the only team that wants elite point guards. So they considered trading up for a guard. They didn't do it. They thought it was expensive. They took option 2, which was trading back and to start replenishing, that trove of assets there.
Okay.
That to me was honestly maybe the biggest takeaway from last night, that they tried to trade up for one of these point guards. And I was like, was that LeBaron Philon who slipped to 22? Were they trying to get up even higher than that for a Corey? I'm guessing it was Philon. But I mean, that would have taken assets to do that. And just from him saying that, it's pretty obvious they're going to add a ball handler
Correct.
or 2 via trade or free agency. That is obviously a huge need they want to address. They want to address it so badly they almost moved up in the first round last night.
And now, one thing he also said, and I agree with you a lot with how you're looking at it. One thing he also said was just it was a point guard heavy draft, so like one was going to drop, right? To some extent. So if you're looking up trade up candidates, but then to your point, you go, well, Phylan dropped pretty far. Like, how expensive was it? You know what I mean? So
22, that's where he went.
To move up 4 spots.
Again, though, to their point of getting these seconds, they don't have a lot of those middling assets. So they have taken too much to move up too little. Ultimately, guys, we know what they decided to do. Here's what Tenzer had to say.
Well, can we start on this one too? To move up in the draft would have cost 26, right? Because you're just swapping, say, 22 for 26. But also another piece. Was it we couldn't get it done with Zeke Naji? Well, I think that's a negative asset. Correct. So I don't think that pushes you forward. Is it so what's a positive asset? To me, it also tips their hand that they're willing to move with a positive value asset. How else would you have moved up in the draft? 26 and positive value is what gets you up. And so the only positive value contracts that you see are the starting 5. What off the bench is a positive value to everyone, not just to some. Like, I don't know if Julian Strawther in 26 moves up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, the way you move up in the draft, especially last night, was second round picks.
Right.
De'Ron Holmes, maybe they were hoping De'Ron Holmes and 26 moved you up and it didn't work out. At least it shows you that they were trying to move a player.
Right.
To move up in the draft, and we just don't know what player that is.
But the easiest way to do it, to win, to like a short kind of move up, is those seconds, like Wynn said.
And maybe that's why they couldn't do it.
Right.
Because they only had, one tradable second
right.
last night before that trade they made?
In part because they've already burned seconds to move up before, like De'Ron Holmes. So here's what Ben Tenzer had just said about the outcome. Quote, "We got 2 extra seconds that we feel good about. You can look at other teams around the league and see what 2 seconds get you." End quote. He went on to say, look, it's tough to not have as many picks as these other teams. Throughout the years, we've given assets for other options at the time. So this is what it is. We're comfortable with this. So I do believe that they like the second rounders that they got. I do believe that was always like somewhere in their decision tree, as opposed to just, this is what we got. They were, can we get a couple second rounders out of this? I think it was always on the board. And I think that to me, they seemed pleased about that part at least.
Yeah. I mean, of course, you're always going to see pleased about, like, when any questions of value, it's like, okay, yeah, we're pleased with those types of things. TBD though, to see if that,
what they do with it.
Yeah, to see what they do with it. You have any thoughts there
on the second rounders? I mean, we'll see. Like a lot of the moves that they've made in the draft, I think they're ultimately going to be judged by how this team looks after free agency and after the trade market. And those things are still to come.
Yeah,
for sure. But I do genuinely buy that, like, that part of the outcome. I would even say, to me, more than Brazile necessarily, I think they really do like that they at least are walking away with some second round picks, which will make their lives easier as they try to make some of these moves, which may end up just being salary dumps because they may be operating under this edict from up top. All the same, they can't even really do that properly, I think, without these picks. So that's how they're looking at it for now. We can talk about Brazile, the pick itself here. Wallace said, length, athleticism, he's played in big games. He played in arguably the most athletic conference in the collegiate landscape, and he's been coached well. Going into the draft, you guys, Ben Wallace and John Tenzer spoke with Matt Brooks for Nuggets Digital about their philosophy for the draft. And they did mention length and athleticism. I believe they've also mentioned physicality, and I don't know if that one came up here. In fact, it didn't. But length and athleticism did. So in that way, I think he fits their draft kind of philosophy and what they're looking for. One more thing, though, to add, he said, it's hard to stop guys one-on-one. Anytime you can add individuals who have the length and athletic ability to recover and get back in the play, that's always going to be an added plus. And I would add, especially with this team right now, with Murray and Jokic, at the brackets of your defense, guys who can recover, erase some gaps, make some plays, there's value there.
Is he a good defender, or is he just tall and athletic?
Yeah, tall and athletic, I think. But that is a large part of athleticism. That is my fear with him, as we'll get into here in a little bit, is that I don't, there are players like this. I think Birdman was like this. It's kind of one of the comps I have for him. Birdman just went for every block.
Sure.
And it wasn't necessarily that he was this like great, super smart defender. He just played really hard and went for everything. And you could pump fake that guy. Like the smart players would always get him like in the air and draw fouls. I kind of think that's how this guy's going to be. But can you just play hard? Like that's actually fine for a role player to come in and just try to block a bunch of shots. But yeah, I don't know that it's like if you combine that with a high IQ defender, you get a really good player.
Right. I
6'10", 42-inch vertical, smart and athletic. It's like, yeah, that's
6'10", 42-inch vertical. Like, there's a reason he's the second round pick.
totally.
Like if he was like good at this, he'd probably be going a little higher.
Yeah.
No, he's got some stuff to learn.
For
But
sure.
He does have the help defender erase a shot ability that the Nuggets have lacked for sure.
Sure.
Because we say all of this and they're saying all this. This is pick 35 overall. The percentages are low, but if you're trying to sell yourself on the guy, that's the headline. So that's basically what they felt about Brazile. There wasn't a lot of talk about Hopkins, which I think will ultimately just be a two-way contract.
Yeah.
Although Ben Tenzer declined to get specific about the deals.
It'll be a two-way contract.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah. Okay.
Unless they want to go real cheap.
We did talk to these fellas about the offseason at large, and they were largely a closed book on these topics. Ben Tenzer on Peyton Watson. We feel good about where that's at. We hope Peyton's here for a long time. That quote may sound familiar to you. It's virtually identical to the last thing we heard from Tenzer about Peyton Watson. The only operative word to me that I notice in that is hope. We hope Peyton's here for a long time. In like many ways, you're kind of at the wheel here. You know what I mean? So it's sort of a passive word choice.
I don't love it, to be honest with you, man. And it really is one of my notes for the Nuggets. And I hate having to go here, but these press conferences, we've talked about this in the last one. There's a presence and charisma that I think is kind of important, especially in moments of, of uncertainty, which the Nuggets find themselves in. Everyone is looking for the calming force in the organization. The fan base is looking for that. And there is just a charisma to it that I think might be a little bit lacking. The presence is a little bit lacking in these moments. Is it the biggest deal? No. But it is something that everybody wants to hear. We know what we're doing. We're comfortable, this or that. And things like, we hope, we'll see what can happen. We'll see. It's like, man, we'll just have to wait. I wish they instilled a little more confidence. That was one of my big takeaways, honestly.
And this is to your point, right? Look, it is true that they're speaking for a guy who's speaking for his dad.
Yeah.
But part of the job
degree,
is to project this, I think, what's the word I'm looking for? Decisiveness.
Totally.
Control of the situation.
That's what leadership calls for, man. I mean, all your great leaders in moments of uncertainty, they kind of get everybody, kind of rallied around. You tell a story. So much of life is storytelling. What story can you tell? A presser is storytelling. Let me get up here and tell you a story. And the story they told was, we hope we can figure this out. In that line, at least.
Yeah, no, for sure. 100%. Ben Tenzer on Jalen Pickett, still evaluating. Full quote.
And that's about whether they're going to exercise the team option.
Yes, thank you. On the team option. Thank you.
Yeah.
Still evaluating.
What do you guys think of that, by the way? Well, there's nothing to evaluate for him as a player.
Right. I think we have the tape we need to evaluate.
I think the evaluation is about David Adelman and just like, I don't think David Adelman likes him. I don't think Michael Malone liked him. So maybe he's unlikable. Maybe that's part of it. But really it comes down to David Adelman. This guy is a really good value for us because even if we cut him and sign somebody else, it'll be more. And so if we do that, are you going to like that guy? Or is this just, how do we need to spend the resources? That's got to be part of the evaluation. And on top of that, probably wondering, can they just get another guy that is meaningfully better or meaningfully more trusted by David Adelman? And if that's the case, then the upcharge is worth it. But I don't know if it's worth it to just cut him and sign another Pickett. Somebody else's Pickett.
Well, there's nobody like Pickett. Pickett's a pretty unique player.
Well, I'm saying like Jordan McLaughlin. Like maybe their idea is, what if we just went and got another minimum salary guy that's not like that's been a third string point guard?
I just think it speaks to the fact that, and this is also with them trying to move up for a point guard, they're just very unsettled about their ball handling situation, and they have a lot of things to figure out. Jamal Murray as the starter, most likely. What is going on behind him? All of that's up in the air right now, and I think that ties into them being undecided about Jalen Pickett.
It's the first thing that David Adelman publicly lobbied for through the media, basically. If you listen to the way he talked about Tyus Jones at the end of the series, I found it very interesting that. I found it fascinating, a little Malone-esque actually, but he clearly was saying, look, we're better off with more of this out there. There's no doubt about it. And it seems like the front office is on the same page, so
Should have played him more then.
On the other end of this break, guys, we have an update kind of on Jonas Valanciunas, on Nikola Jokic, and that weird war room video that was going around. We'll tell you more about.
There's more to this.
The team's explanation for what that was about.
All right.
I can take.
Have you done it? Then we're good.
I can
Okay,
take
who
that.
cares? Good. Bet $10, get $200 in bonus bets. Where? You know where. Bet365, where it's never ordinary and it's always going down. Bet365 is an official partner of the Denver Nuggets. And the Nuggets are not playing basketball right now. No one's playing basketball right now. A lot of baseball going on, though. Baseball back on Blake Street, a season full of mile-high highlights. Full of, maybe a bit of a stretch, but there's some of them in there, more already than last year. You know the deal. 7th inning sunsets, the Rocky Mountain oysters, maybe, if that's what you want. Look, if you know, you know. This season's a perfect time to get in on the action with Bet365, a proud partner of the Colorado Rockies as well. And here's how it works. All you have to do is sign up. You make your first $10 bet, and they'll throw you $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. Not a bad deal. There's never been a better time to get in on the season with Bet365. Bet365, where winning is everything. Download the app. Use code DNVR365 at sign up today. If you have a gambling problem, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. You must be 21 or older. You also have to be physically located in Colorado. Terms and conditions apply, and that is in-app only. Shout out Raising Cane's. You can kick it with Canes all tournament long. Of course, we're talking about the World Cup, and it is a long tournament, by the way, still in group stage. And folks, if you've been watching it and you're a Team USA fan, you've been enjoying it. How about the soccer we're seeing from the lads here in the Stars and Stripes? I'm about to do a whole soccer segment. That's not the point. I'm supposed to talk to you about Raising Cane's. But here's the deal. Raising Cane's and USA soccer legend Landon Donovan have partnered up to grow his hair back. No, that's not what it is. They've partnered up to serve fans cooked-to-order chicken fingers, crispy crinkle-cut fries, Texas toast, and the true MVP, that Cane sauce. So whether it's kickoff, halftime, or a post-game victory meal, you just can't go wrong with Raising Cane's. What you can do is find a location near you to get your match day order in. Bring the Canes to you and your World Cup watch party. Raising Cane's, chicken fingers, one love.
All righty, back here, segment 2, DNVR Nuggets podcast. We're talking about the presser yesterday. You had a nice tease, though.
Yeah, before you guys stomped all over it.
Well,
here's Ben. No, I didn't know, guys. Thanks for filling me in. Ben Tenzer on Jonas Valanciunas. Also still evaluating. He did say the question included the fact that there's some noise about him maybe trying to get back to Europe again. Ben said, yeah, we heard the noise. We heard it last year too. To me, the most interesting quote of the night.
Well, first of all, real quick about Jonas, why would they want to bring him back? He has this non-guaranteed deal. They're in a money crunch. It seems insane to think that they would not want to get rid of him.
Wouldn't it be more about just determining exactly how you're doing that?
Maybe, but it seems like it's going to cost him $2 million no matter what. Yeah. You can just pay that and be off his books. Now, you won't be without a backup center, but is there a world where they just do what they did last year? And we're like, we know you want to go to Europe, man, but we just can't afford not to have you.
Well, they got to pay him $10 million next
and we'll pay you $10 million.
They're not doing that.
Well, maybe they are if there's even bigger plans for salary dumping elsewhere.
They're not doing that. But I mean, I'm okay with like Ben not revealing the exact plans there. He's right to not show their cards.
Hold the cards close to the chest.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, he did that too with this quote with Jokic, which, all right, fair enough. But the question about Jokic's extension, their confidence level, etc. Ben said, quote, we can't comment on any of that because of the league rules. Well, you've heard what he said about his happiness here.
What league rule is there that you can't do this?
There isn't one. I've been checking around on this. There's no league rule against that. It's a thing you could say if you don't want to say anything else.
Guess so.
But I don't think
I'm going to start using that a lot.
Yeah.
You know what I would have loved to hear though is like, yeah, we're actually we got a flight to Serbia on June 30th. Can't wait to sit down with him and sign that.
Could have said that.
That's what I would have loved to hear.
It's priority number 1.
Yeah.
We're extremely confident. We're not worried.
Yeah. Already got the Rocky poured.
I want to be honest, you guys. At risk of sounding like I'm overreacting, I didn't hear any of that.
Yeah.
What I heard was something about league rules, which isn't true. But
like the league rules, that comes into play when you're talking about a player not under contract. correct?
Right. As I understand it, and listen,
Yoke's under contract.
if I'm wrong, I stand humbly corrected on this, and my apology to Mr. Townsend. But I don't believe there's any rule against talking about this if he's under contract.
I mean, you could say we're not going to discuss contract negotiations.
You could say kind of team policy, and that's fine.
I don't know.
I just
Maybe
found it
there's a
interesting.
legal rule I don't know about.
I just found it interesting. He did go on to say, you've heard what he said about his happiness here. It's why we feel really comfortable with that relationship. I should add that part. There's a little bit of, they feel comfortable with the relationship. So that's what we got on Jokic and the extension from Ben Tenzer, John Wallace in the front office. If you didn't know the draft war room video, they were largely confused. The Spurs didn't get back to them on time. That's their explanation anyway about who they were going to draft. And that could be a tense time. So that's the team's official explanation for that video.
So here's what I think. If he doesn't sign on Friday, which is the day he can sign, I believe, the 6th, if he doesn't sign, we're going to become nervous for this one. Is it 2 Fridays? It might be 2 Fridays away.
I believe it's 2.
Yeah, 2 Fridays away. Because to me, if you're feeling confident about this, could you really string this out the entire summer? This isn't like
No, this is a day one of free agency type deal.
almost a day one or nothing. Again, not that you have to, but it would not make sense to me to not sign that unless you were not signing it. Why not?
The first hours that you
Yes.
can.
First hours, we're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you just sign that immediately? So
You
to
want to
me,
get that locked up quick.
I don't think there's any reason to be confident or not confident about this one. I still think Jokic's going to be Nuggets forever, but he's never really put pressure on the org. And this could be the first time he ever does. And just say, like, even if his full intention is to be Nuggets forever, he could just look at this offseason where they're at by basically 2 weeks from tomorrow and say, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if you guys are doing everything you can. I want to be Nuggets forever, but let's let this play out for a little bit.
Let me get my eyes on Brazile first.
Yeah, right.
Then I might sign.
Putting a little pressure, your own evaluation year. Yeah. Also, he can technically, guys, still make a little more money if he waits. I'm not a capologist. Apparently, you need a law degree to cover this league. I'm afraid of butchering the specifics. But something about his yearly raises, if the cap goes up, he can still make a little bit of money by waiting.
Yeah.
So that I just
love that.
I think we've just talked about it like it's a foregone conclusion because largely I agree with Adam that one way or another, I don't think he's leaving Denver. But just this extension and the deadline that's coming up, I just think so one thing we've done this offseason is we've talked about all the possibilities. We did a show about trading Jamal Murray. We did a show about not trading Jamal Murray. I think we've all talked about this extension like it's just happening. I just think it's just maybe worth considering that there's some incentive to not sign it.
It'd be pretty unprecedented. Usually stars at his level, they never actually get to unrestricted free agency, and that's what would happen if he delayed it.
Yeah.
Usually you're always re-upping with at least a year or two left.
Yep.
Would you like Jokic to put pressure on the org? Part of me wonders if it's actually what's needed. Jokic's the easiest low maintenance guy, but I do look at some of the moves of the past that I just go, are they taking advantage of it in some way? I don't want Jokic to leave. I don't think he should leave, to be honest with you. I think there is something to even going down with the ship. There's something honorable about it and uninteresting about just trying to find the easiest path. But I wonder if it's like, hey guys, don't take me for granted. What are we doing? You don't want to go in a second apron? Am I not worth it?
Yeah.
He also, I think,
you'll lose a lot more money if I leave than
Yes.
you will. You will lose a lot of money if I leave this place. So,
and if
don't own a team if you're not willing to win.
And if he's confident in his own durability, the fact that the Nuggets are gonna, want him no matter what happens, and if this cap goes up, there's just more money to squeeze out of this thing. And I'm not even saying this with any sort of value judgment whatsoever. I think Jokic likes the money, so I just don't know if we factored that part of it into the whole picture.
Look, every NBA star likes money, though.
That's a good point, Harrison.
They don't go to free agency for a reason.
This is a good point, Harrison. There's risk here. There's injury risk. If the cap doesn't go up.
I would love if he just postures it either way, because I do worry that I want the Nuggets organization to do everything they can with urgency right now to win. And that, I will say there's a flip side to it, and we'll get to this later on, but sometimes your star puts pressure on you and you trade for LaMelo Ball. So we'll talk about it in a bit here, but he's been so far the opposite that I wouldn't mind the Nuggets organization sweating a little bit to
a healthy sweat.
a healthy sweat that says, look, you guys are kind of cheap on some things.
Right.
You want to lose the most valuable asset you've ever had in your entire life? Well, do wrong, and that's what's going to be the stakes. Again, I still think we're fine. The season is, there's so many heavy questions that haven't felt heavy until they kind of arrive on the doorstep.
But you could think, like you could just think he's coming back. Think it's fine because you think no matter what, he's just going to stay here.
I do.
And I agree with that. But I don't know. I'm looking at this deadline, man. I'm wondering about it.
Yeah, we'll see. Anything else from the presser?
That's it, fellas. That's
How
it.
was the Chipotle?
Oh, the spread was really good. Got us some Chipotle.
They heard us.
Great. Shout out Nuggets PR for that.
Oh, there you go, man. Chipotle. That's a great
It was
one.
actually really good.
All right. They're winning the chip. Let's talk a little bit more about this Trevon Brazile guy.
Yeah.
He was a big transfer portal guy a handful of years back. He was like the biggest name or one of the biggest names in the transfer portal. This is 4 years ago. And it kind of shows you his arc. One of the things about him is that he was at one point, I don't want to say a surefire NBA guy, but it was like, all right, this guy is something, and kind of plateaued in a way. Like his career he didn't reach the potential that he was supposed to reach. Some of this was injury and some of these other things. But I think that's at least interesting. I'm always interested in player arcs when they fall. I also am interested when they rise, like Jalen Wells. We talked about this, some of the guys that weren't in the top 100, Wagler, and they rise. But I'm always interested when a guy's arc was, at one point I was considered blue chip, and now I was second rounder.
Well, and I think you look at his frame and athleticism, and that probably was a big reason he got that status.
100%.
6'11", huge vertical, these crazy dunks. You just look at him on the court and you go, okay, that's a guy. Like, that's probably going to be one of those guys.
How much do we have to teach him? Because he can already jump over everything.
He's got all these intangibles, all this potential. And then, yeah, it is interesting when some of those guys plateau. I'm not like a huge college basketball guy, but we research it when the draft comes about. And he's been on my radar the last couple of years as in, he's this really tantalizing prospect,
right?
But he's gone back to school.
Right.
Because obviously the draft stock wasn't there. Obviously, there were a couple things he needs to get better at. He had an ACL injury, I believe, several years back.
Right.
And so he's been a guy that's on the radar, but has never really taken that next leap that really establishes himself as like a bona fide, surefire first-round pick. And he's just kind of been at the level he is right now the last couple of years.
One thing I really like, though, about the pedigree is he has played for two fantastic coaches. He played for Eric Musselman, who's one of my favorites.
Great coach.
A really great coach, smart. You're going to have to play a smart system, play smart. He has had a lot of NBA players come through his system. And then you get John Calipari, who we all know has produced a lot of NBA-level talent.
I mean, the adage in the draft the last couple of years has been, when in doubt, draft a Kentucky guard or Kentucky player.
And I do believe in this thing about when you play for good coaches at the college level, it does prepare you for some things at the next one. So that part of it to me is an encouraging thing, just knowing that he has played for what I think are coaches that get you ready.
Yes. And I think a support structure as well. Like Cal seems like a guy you can go to for advice, right? You graduate from his program, his system. You're just in his Rolodex forever, right? And this is a guy who, like you said, like you guys just alluded to, has had so much success in terms of guys who played for him and made it at the next level. None of that is a guarantee about Brazile. I'm just saying there's not just the guidance he got on the floor in college. There's the guidance about this transition here that he has to make now. So that does count for something. And yeah, I mean, just the fact that both coaches were willing to utilize and lean on him says something.
That being said, smart system doesn't necessarily mean smart player. And I think this is the number one thing I would say. Actually, two things about him that are huge concerns. I think he is not a tough guy. I don't want to call a guy soft when I have never really watched him play before, but it is part of the reputation that is he tough enough for the physicality he will need? And when I say tough, I don't mean like he cries when he gets hit. How willing are you to get physical? How effective are you to get physical when the game gets physical? That's what I mean about tough guy. And then the other part of this, is he a dynamic thinker of the game? And I'm going to say no, but that might not be a concern, which we'll talk about on the other side. But first, the idea that to be a power forward at the NBA, sometimes you have to guard Julius Randle.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, we've seen in the playoffs the last couple of years how much physicality is in the game. physicality is going up right now,
Yeah.
Yep.
especially at the highest levels of this competition. So it's definitely a concern, but again, if they can fit him into the exact role that shows off his skill set, I think there's ways you can get around it for now.
So those concerns are real, and we'll kind of watch this guy as he develops. But there is one thing, the vision for what he could be used for in Denver, that I think is very encouraging that I want to talk about on the other side.
Kalshi is the largest prediction market. It is the first federally regulated financial exchange dedicated to trading on the outcome of future events. And look, in sports, that's a lot of the fun. We just don't know how the future is going to play out. And look, there's scripted entertainment, there's predictable entertainment, less and less predictable watching professional sports these days, especially in our sport, in the NBA, where it's the era of parity. Anything can happen. And when anything can happen, you might want to be able to trade on anything. That's what you can do with Kalshi, the largest prediction market globally, regulated in the US and available in all 50 states. You can trade on anything, really, anything. Go check it out. On Kalshi, you're trading against peers in a live market, meaning there's no house. And as the probability changes, you can buy in and out of your position. For a limited time, download the Kalshi app and use code ALLNBA to get $10 when you trade 10, KALSHI. That's Kalshi. Trade on anything. You have to be 18 or older. Restrictions and eligibility requirements apply. Event contract trading involves risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Prices, values, and available markets may differ from those mentioned. For more information, see kalshi.com/regulatory. And Xfinity wants to offer you a 5-year price guarantee on intelligent and reliable Wi-Fi. Let's just talk about the second part right now. That is just so important in the modern world. Intelligent, reliable Wi-Fi where you can watch what you want to watch while the whole family's online. Multiple people can stream at once. Some people can game. If you've got a whole family, you know that everyone really is at least trying to be plugged in these days. You want to get all those devices working in perfect harmony. You would love to have that for 5 years. Here's the best part. Within those 5 years, the price is not going to change at all. That is, of course, why they call it the 5-year price guarantee. Sometimes you sign up for a service, they change the terms of service, they change the agreement on you, and all of a sudden, you just owe them more money per month than the original amount you agreed to. That's not going to happen here. Not for 5 whole years. It's like a max contract, except even better because it doesn't really scale up. It's locked in. Lock in your price and unlock the possibilities with our friends at Xfinity. Learn more at Xfinity.com. Xfinity, imagine that. Select plans only. Restrictions apply.
All righty, back here, segment 3, DNVR Nuggets podcast. So here's really how I feel about Trevon Brazile. It's very exciting that you have an athlete like this. It might actually be the best athlete at the power forward spot of the Jokic era, which is crazy to say because he's at Aaron Gordon, one of the best athletes, clearly a better player, and Kenneth Faried. When I say athleticism, I just mean if you're going to throw a lob to somebody in the dunker, whose hand reaches the highest of those three guys?
Bol.
Well, you're probably right about this, but
It's
Brazile.
Brazile.
Don't you think? I mean, Kenneth Faried has had some lobs that were like unbelievable how high. Remember the Chris Marlowe call? They're like, that's too high. Oh, it's not too high.
Yes.
Kenneth Faried had some crazy ones. Aaron Gordon, his first years in Denver, same thing. He was jumping out of the gym. And yet, I think this guy might reach the highest
He
floor.
might. He just might.
So as someone in the chat keeps pointing out, on the other end of an ACL injury, it was a tear, right?
Yeah.
ACL tear.
Yeah.
He has a 41.5-inch maximum vertical.
It's insane, man.
He tore his ACL.
I know.
Now,
What was it before?
yeah. Obviously that rehab.
Did you see, by the way, the
Procedures.
a new Olympic world record for vertical jump? 52.5 inches.
Is that that's a max? Right? It doesn't.
That's like a guy
It
that
doesn't
all he
matter
does
what-
Can we
jump.
sign him to Exhibit 10?
But this guy also has the standing reach. Like he's both taller and jumps as high as those guys. That's why I say
great wingspan as well. So he has everything you need to go up and get it, both as a lob threat and a rebounder, where there's some value there too.
And so I'm looking at this and thinking, Kenneth Faried was not a great player. He hustled, but he wasn't a great player. But offensively, him and Yoke, 120 offensive rating, and that's when that number was absurd, 126. Yeah. So now I look at it and say, this guy's issue was, or one of his issues was, is he dynamic? He kind of doesn't have a great feel for the game. The game might be more simple, and not might be, will be more simplified than ever with him, if assuming he accepts this role, which he would be an idiot not to. You tell him you're going to play the dunker spot and the corner. When you're in the corner and you're open, shoot the three. If you're in the corner and your defender helps too hard, dive to the basket, catch a lob. When you're in the dunker, either catch the lob or rebound. That's it. There's no other reads to make. The game is now simple. You don't need a ton of feel. Those are your spots. And if you do that, you might score 12 points a game just from playing with Jokic and catching lobs.
Yeah. There's an element of just being, or a team having threats that put pressure on the rim like that. And this is obviously a way different example, but how the Spurs just throw the ball at the rim to Wemby.
Yeah.
It's like they've discovered this whole new play that really no other team uses. You just pick and roll, throw it up, and he can get there. Tip it in or tip it to himself and it goes in. And if you just have those threats diving to the rim around a guy like Jokic, who can obviously deliver the ball there, that's valuable. And it's just something the Nuggets have not had a lot of.
Yeah.
So he gives the Nuggets an element that they've been missing a little bit. And I'm somebody who's wanted Derek Jones on the Nuggets for a couple years. I would love if they could trade for him. But now Brazile, maybe he could be that. Maybe he could give you that type of threat going to the rim and just have that type of gravity.
He needs the right people around him, and he just needs to accept. I mean, we see so many players. You're a 35th pick. You don't get a ton of chances as a 35th pick. Mm-hmm. So come in here, and I don't care what kind of player you think you are. Dominate the dunker, because playing the dunker in Denver is the best spot you can be in. It's even better than Luka. Luka's more of a pick and roll dive. That's your thing. But when you're with Jokic, playing the dunker can get you a 10-year career.
What's funner than just catching a finale?
Yeah, in some ways, Jokic doesn't fall too in love with his three-point shot because he was a willing three-point shooter in college. But I don't think he's shot 34% his last season, and his free throw percentage isn't good. And he's not a create his own kind of shot guy. So you're almost like, all right, it's cool you'll take wide open ones, but you have so much value as with a runway to the rim.
He needs to study Aaron Gordon really hard. He should be grinding tape all summer, just watching Aaron Gordon work the dunker.
Move into that warehouse. I'm sure there's an extra. You can sleep on the baseline.
He needs to be watching Derek Jones Jr. and Jaden McDaniel, two of the best corner slashers. They play the corner, and they know the difference between this has to be a 3-point shot versus this is a one dribble at the rim, explode and dunk. And if he can just master those two things on offense, he doesn't have to do anything else. Doesn't have to do anything else, and he will have a nice career and make lots of money. Defensively is the other part of this. Oh, so the 3-point shot, I was just going to say real quickly, he is. It's not hopeless that he can be a decent corner three. I just don't think you're taking above the break, zero dribbles.
Yep.
You're catch and shoot from the corners. Just work on that, and I feel like you can refine one shot. You don't need to have all of them. I don't think they'll ever have him at the wing, or the top of the key. He just won't find himself in those spots. So get in the corners all summer long and work on that shot. Defensively, though, is where he can really make himself a lot of money long term and be valuable. Blocking shots and athleticism is huge. You have to cover a lot of ground to help Jokic, but defense is as much mental as it is physical. It's just you can't have one without the other. Like Jokic, very cerebral defensive player, but sometimes physically he just can't do it. You can be the opposite. I think he's the opposite right now. How quickly can he learn how to read the court defensively? Because if he can, with a 42-inch vertical and 7'5" wingspan, then he can actually be a super player. Now you're talking about a guy that potentially could be a guy for the Nuggets. And I just don't, that's the part that I feel like is less likely. The offensive part I think can be exciting and maybe even work at a high level. Defensively, he's going to have to grow up. This is why he was a high prospect 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's why he's not a high prospect now. So can he learn that to a degree that helps Denver a lot?
It's a great question. Yeah, and for me, that I think feel for the game on both ends and the lack of dog to me are the big concerns. And the other stuff is so elite. You just got to ask yourself, all right, why is it going 35? You just because there's got to be balance to this. But the other thing is he does need to add some weight too, right? Like for his measurables are really impressive. The weight, not so much, just percentile wise compared to his peers. So again, like if he's going to be ready for these challenges and embracing physicality, as like you got to fill out as well, which to be fair, a lot of guys do once they get to an NBA strength and conditioning program.
Yeah. Any other thoughts about this guy? Should we move on to Bryce Hopkins really quickly?
Sure.
This guy I don't have as much intrigue about. I'm very intrigued by Trevon Brazile, to be honest with you. I'm kind of intrigued.
Yeah, sure.
Not super optimistic. I don't think it's going to be a huge deal, but I'm intrigued. Bryce Hopkins to me feels like a classic, just two-way guy. You know, I'm watch him at Summer League. I'll be interested. I don't know what his ceiling is. Brings toughness, you know, brings some positional size and strength. And I think that is really good. But I almost view him more the way I viewed Spencer Jones when he first arrived, which is to say, like, I just don't see him as being a guy next year at all. And he's a pipeline guy that we don't need to like rush to conclusions on.
Yeah. He's also very similar to a lot of guys the Nuggets have drafted over the last couple of years, just in terms of his experience and his production and how in theory he should be kind of a more ready to go option in the second round.
And it's another guy that without injuries, you know, the floor might have been there for him to be there by now. Or to not be this kind of late into a option.
What was his injury?
He also, I think he had he also tore an ACL, and then I believe he had a bone bruise in the same knee, the left knee. So he tore his ACL. I think he plays like 14 games that year, comes back, logs 3 games, bone bruise, same knee, shuts it down. Now, to his credit, works his tail off, comes back, plays the most games of his career at St. John's, whereas he is part of a very successful team and a cog in a good team defense. So I think he is kind of a jack of trade guys. Swing skill for me would be shooting. You know, he has left a lot of meat on the table as a catch and shoot guy. You know, he shot like 36% on underwhelming volume. So, you know, I think if he was more of a perimeter shooter, he might be more of a prospect. But, you know, look, when you're mining for two-way stuff, I don't like what you outlined, Wind, like the experience part of it coming from a winning program. I like it.
Yeah.
You don't have anything else to add about him?
No.
Are you intrigued at all?
Not really, to be honest. I mean, second round guy at 49.
Yeah.
We'll see. I mean,
the truth
he's
is,
probably going to spend a lot of time in the G League. Probably not going to hear about him much next season.
he really, one way to look at it is he was picked 11 spots above the Exhibit 10 Summer League guys. Meaning he was basically an undrafted guy that they just used to pick on.
And look, at this point, this may no longer be that much of a feather in anyone's cap. Monte Morris at 51. You know what I mean? A guy who played a lot of years at college, saw some winning, was part of it, and can contribute.
The difference between Monte Morris and this guy is that when the Nuggets drafted Monte Morris, they were in a way different situation than they are now.
Totally.
And they had a clear plan on, okay, he's going to spend 1 year in the G League, then he's going to be our backup point guard. And they followed a very specific plan. The Nuggets have just shown us nothing over the last couple of years that says they have any plan for developing these later draft picks.
Well, that's actually, I'm glad you brought this up because to me, this might be the biggest thing is Denver has to fundamentally change in a couple of key ways. One of them is injury. You're just talking about 2 guys with ACL injuries. So you're bringing those guys in. Are you doing everything you can now to protect that aspect of it? To say we want our guys to recover from injuries and be strengthened. That doesn't seem like it's been the case recently. So do the Kroenkes need to invest there to make sure that their staff is prepared for? If you're talking about these 2 guys, join a list of Aaron Gordon, potentially also Peyton Watson, Christian Brown, all guys that are dealing with current injuries that are in recovery. And so
these guys are recovering from injuries?
Who?
These draft picks?
Well, I'm just saying that they're in their past. If you're a 42-inch vertical with a torn ACL in your history, it's still like on your it's still a part of your
but they're
history.
Not acquaintance. They're not like getting another procedure. No.
But I mean, the same Christian Brown played the whole year. Aaron Gordon, I'm saying you have now where health becomes in your brightest scenario. You're able to keep everybody going to the second apron. It's a waste if you look at all of the injury risks and say we're not prepared to actually handle that. And then the second part is Denver, for whatever reason, has just not done a great job of playing all of their guys to develop them to be ready. You talk about this Brazile guy, typically second round pick. How much should you be counting on him next year? To me, you might actually need to count on him more than you have in the past, a guy in his spot. Typically, in a guy in his spot, it's like he's probably going to be DeRon Holmes, not play a lot, whatever, afterthought. You just got to treat this as a 15-man roster, and all 15 guys have a role to play. And, if you just took 2 guys in the second round, I sure hope that you've had conversations about the importance of doing those things this year. Yeah, we'll see.
For sure, because I've talked about this a lot. The pipeline is pretty bare of young players coming into this team and growing. And maybe that's a big reason why they wanted to spend a couple of these second round picks on guys that they can get into the system. Because other than Duran, you don't have any prospects coming up right now.
Right.
You just don't.
Yeah.
So now you have Duran and these two.
Now, in the aggregate between these two, and then if you re-sign Spencer Jones, and if Peyton comes back, is that enough where you go, okay, there's a little more depth here at 4 than we had before to at least try?
They definitely needed more depth there. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, again, this is a big if. Like, he's the 35th pick, you know? You can go back and you look at the last 10, 35 picks, some of them, right? There's some value there, but it wouldn't surprise anyone if this doesn't pan out either.
All right, let's take a break. On the other side, let's stop wallowing in our own anxiety and let's wallow in somebody else's. The Timberwolves, they got wild. We'll talk about that on the other side.
That
That would have been good to know.
No, I could have told you that. Although you could have too. Yeah. That's great. You know what I mean? I think it's kind of. I think it's your job.
We have to apologize. Kale's not here today, so the production's been a little rough. But
Production
we have you
dropping
here.
the ball.
You're here.
We do the show and then we'll talk later.
I've slept like 6 hours. All right. Here's the trade that just went down. The Timberwolves have traded for LaMelo Ball at the cost of some pick swaps, and one Naz Reid. They already got rid of Julius Randle. Before we get into what this makes the Timberwolves, I think the number one thing this says is that they're just no longer considering Denver. I really do think Tim Connelly went to Minnesota and was like, how do we beat Denver? Question number one. Question number two, how do we win a championship?
Yeah.
And I think now this team is significantly less designed, I think, for Denver just from a size and physicality standpoint. But I'm TBD on whether or not they're better. I want to give a fair shake to this. But that's my first layer to this. This seems like a team that is less concerned with Denver than ever.
On the contrary, you could say, man, the Nuggets cannot stop any guards whatsoever. Let's get another one in here.
Yeah, you could.
Because that's my first reaction to this move. The Wolves are going to be easier to score against. They're going to be tougher to stop now.
Yeah. But I think Denver...
If you're the Nuggets.
So to your point, because I saw some people pushing back on this notion today on the old interwebs, I still think it's true that the Randall for Cat swap should have made it better for Denver. And then it just didn't even matter. They crushed Denver again and then ran into the same problems they've been running against other teams. So,
well, I think some of this is the front court size. I think maybe a little bit less than we think. Again, Aaron Gordon wasn't there this year, so the front court, like their size was even more overwhelming because Denver became tiny. But I think the bigger thing about what I look at that, all of their losses both of their losses over the last handful of years are more about their ability to completely eliminate Jamal Murray and shut down Denver. So Denver obviously needs to add ball handling. But on top of that, they did add a guy that was a way easier target to attack the other direction.
Mm-hmm. But Denver struggled so much to attack. Like it was just, I can't get McDaniels off Murray and we're going to attack this anyway, you know?
100%.
So that's, you got this other option. You also had Mike Conley on the floor to end that series and you couldn't figure out a way to attack. So
yeah. I still think I look at this one and say that they're losing pieces that made it specifically difficult for Denver, but they didn't lose Gobert or Jaden McDaniels.
True.
And so there are still those pieces there. But if you ask me what made the Wolves good over the last handful of years, why I believed them, I've been a Wolves truther for the last handful of years. If you ask me, it's because Rudy Gobert, Jaden McDaniels, and Anthony Edwards' brilliance. Those are the three guys. They were a defensive team that was tough and physical and gritty, and they had Anthony Edwards that gives you enough offense to make this happen. I think they're meaningfully less gritty now. Meaningfully less.
They're way less gritty.
I think their identity is different now. They're
LaMelo Ball.
I would go as far as to say I think they're an offensive team.
Yeah.
I think they are now an offensive team, and maybe they are good enough to win offensively. But I mean, Denver's been an offensive team for a while, really good. I would say Jokic greater than whatever you're getting there. Just Denver's offense is always unbelievable, but it wasn't enough in the playoffs. And I look at that group and say, I think they're going to be great on offense. Are they going to run into the same problem Denver did?
probably. They also, I think, for a long time have had this sort of, you know what? Let me choose my words very carefully. We're talking about the Wolves here, right?
They're probably tuned in.
Can I say immaturity in the clutch? Is that okay? Is that politically correct? Immature in the clutch, I think. And I think, I don't know if LaMelo, helps that.
Yeah.
So there's that.
I actually think that's the big story here is that this team, which has always been a little bit emotionally volatile, like they play emotionally. And so when they're beating the heck out of Denver, it swells into this like superpower. And when they're getting beat, it kind of spirals. And I look at that and say, they just got significantly more volatile.
Yeah. I mean,
This is like in
Yes.
Chernobyl when they put the control rods in. It's supposed to slow things down, but it actually
Oh my
speeds up the
God.
reaction. You guys know what I'm talking
For
about?
sure.
This is how an
I just
IBM
cannot believe they
I haven't
traded
watched
for
it in a
LaMelo
IBK
Ball.
reactor.
Great, it's so good. I
you
might
guys-
watch it now.
It's so good.
My first read on this is they saw the success they had in another guy who could attack with the ball in his hands in Terrence Shannon Jr.
They might have had it like him coming up might have been what they needed to
Might have
boost
been all
their-
they needed to do. But what I think they did then is looked at that dynamic, said, can we get another guy who can attack defenses? And then let's go to Anthony Edwards and ask him what he thinks. And I would not be surprised if Anthony Edwards said, LaMelo Ball sounds great.
That's my guy.
Yeah, I really do think that's what happened.
Yeah,
and
he's got great judgment on stuff.
I don't think Tim's making any calls right now that aren't about, we are certain this is what Ant
This
wants.
this might be the end of the Wolves franchise.
Well, but it also might work, man. I honestly
Sure,
believe this.
sure, it
Here's
could.
what
Could
I
work.
think. I think the injury concern is the bigger concern, and then I think some of this volatility is the secondary concern. But I'll say this about LaMelo, man. He's really good on offense. He's just really good at stirring getting the ball going to where it needs to go. The Hornets were unbelievable last year offensively. Unbelievable.
Yep.
In part because of just how he plays the game. I do wonder how it'll mesh with Ant because Ant is almost a little bit more, you want the ball in his hands and he'll do some stuff. I think LaMelo now has the ball in his hands a lot more. I think when it works, it's going to look unbelievable. When it doesn't work, it'll look bad. I don't know if that's a recipe for playoff success.
Well, I was just gonna say LaMelo's played in 2 important games in his whole career and was bad in
He was
both.
bad in both, yeah. I don't know if it's a recipe.
And that was in the Eastern Conference play-in.
It's a really good point, Harrison.
I
like the venom you said that.
This move definitely could work just because
The skill.
you put those two
The
next
talent,
to each
I mean.
other offensively. Who
Yeah.
who knows what they can do? They could do great things. I'm just betting on it not working at all because I'm not banking on LaMelo Ball being that type of guy in the playoffs. He's hurt all the time, except last year. He's played non-important NBA games for his entire career in Charlotte. He's just not serious enough to level up to play in the Western Conference on this Minnesota team. I'm not buying it. It could have worked, sure. I'm just not buying it.
If I'm trying to keep my job right now, I'm trying to keep Anthony Edwards in Minnesota.
Yeah.
And if this is what Anthony Edwards said, it's what I'm doing. But I'm with you. Just
He did poor Chris Finch, man. I mean, he just lost Mike and Nori, his buddy and elite assistant, and now he's got LaMelo Ball to be like, okay, this is what I have to do. And also, by the way, I can't believe I'm saying this. Poor Rudy Gobert. On one hand, I do think that Rudy
can't believe
Gobert
you're
is
saying that either.
Rudy Gobert is going to get a lot of lobs. Like that's a good option for
sure.
LaMelo. But Gobert also, I think, has complained a lot about the maturity of the Wolves in general. Before this, the volatility of them before
Yes.
this. He is about to have this. This really is the boomer and the Gen Z. You give him some Gen Zs where he's just like, "Are you guys kidding me? This is what we're doing again." So it'll work. When it works, I think it's going to look great. I bet you they win some regular season games if everyone stays healthy.
But the funny
Playoffs,
thing is
though?
they
I
were
don't
the
know.
6th seed last year. So they could have like an okay year and be a little better than they were in the
Right.
regular season last year.
Totally.
That's a good point. Yeah.
But then you have the playoffs.
What about the Charlotte side of this? Is there value to getting out of the LaMelo business when you have so much else going on?
Yeah.
Well, one thing
Bit
I
of a
saw is
rhetorical
that they
question.
have
Yeah.
$40 million in cap space, which is kind of interesting.
They do.
So now they become a
They,
player
they
in some of
should
these.
get Cam Johnson. They had 2 pick, like whatever. Maybe Denver didn't want 18, but if you're Charlotte, don't you want Cam Johnson on this expiring?
Now that this move has happened, I am curious if that becomes a landing spot for one of these big Nuggets trades.
Maybe.
You know,
Yeah, it's a good
I don't
point.
think Aaron Gordon makes as much sense because they just drafted a big. They have Diabate, they have Kalkbrenner, so they have like now 3 bigs that they're trying to develop. So maybe they don't need a guy like that, but Cam Johnson makes sense. Jamal Murray, maybe you just lost your point guard.
They just re-up Kobe White on a big extension.
That's true. They just got him, but he's like so good as a 6 man. They just have a lot of space. So now they become one of these teams that you look at if you're trying to do one of those trade for nothing deals.
For sure.
Cam Johnson seems plausible.
I mean, they have Miller
That's true.
they're invested in. So
That's a
where
good
does he
point.
play? Does he play there?
Is he a 4?
Does he go to 4?
So either one.
Yeah.
That's a good point. It's a good counter.
So I don't know, man. It'll be kind of interesting here. It is a big trade. The last angle of this for me is that Anthony Edwards is early to put pressure on his org. We were just talking about should Jokic do this or that, and I will say that does this deal happen if there is no pressure from your best player?
Probably not.
No.
That's my feeling.
No.
And well, maybe things are stale there because they've kind of plateaued at where they're at.
LaMelo Ball isn't that guy that you bring in, though.
Right.
I mean, but he's kind of like the deals we've been talking about this year. He's kind of like Kevin Durant or Anthony Davis, or you know what I mean? It could work because they're so talented, but when you get in a compromised position, if Jokic did put pressure on the org, does Denver make a similar, like Brandon Ingram? We got to get another creator.
This feels like a last gasp for Minnesota, to be honest. They don't have any more draft picks. They wasted them in this deal. The Dillingham trade up, like that was a disaster. And so this is like, I feel like the last version of the team that they'll have with Edwards, maybe.
It might very well may be, man. It's kind of a crazy thought. Something crazy to think about.
Yeah.
It goes so quick, or maybe it doesn't. Maybe I'm so old now and I should keep closer track of time. You know what I mean?
You're at the age where you start talking about being old, but you're not quite old. And then you get old and you're like, what was I talking about?
No, I'm just at the age where you suddenly realize that, like, when you're young enough and you're like, oh, 3-4 years, who cares? Now you're like, dude, those things go.
Oh,
You know
that's
what
like,
I
so
mean?
yeah, they're like second round pick. Every year's
Yeah.
like a second round pick.
Yeah.
I'll throw one of these away.
I'm like, well, we'll never get to that point in time. You're like, oh, we're here already?
Then you're older, you'll do anything to trade for 2 second round picks.
Yep.
Any final thoughts, guys?
If I was a Minnesota fan, I'd be talking myself into this deal 100%. You know,
I have had a lot of negative things to say about the organization since the exit, and this isn't representative of some wholesale mindset shift. I just think turning 26 into 3 seconds is fine.
I do
And
too.
using one, I don't mind. I think this is a base hit, and I think it's probably not going to do it for a crowd that's eager for a home run swing. But
the draft doesn't bother me as much as I do wish they would have shed some salary or tipped their hand in some direction this week, and that didn't happen. So now there's a lot of pressure on next Tuesday to get some things done early, and we'll just see what direction they're going.
Look, I'm worried the pressure's only going to mount, fellas.
Yeah, that's what I think too. All right, what do we got?
Christoph, question: was AD in Denver's war room? LFG. Is that a
Adelman David.
No, I think that's a Practical Joker's joke.
What?
Or no? Or is that? I don't
Was
know.
AD?
Was David Adelman in
Or
the
was
war
DA?
room?
DA was in the building. DA was there. Absolutely. I don't
Was
know.
he in the war room?
I don't know.
We couldn't see the fuzzy photo. All we could see was Josh Kroenke. He was
He was taking up most of the frame.
he's taking up most of the of everything.
But DA was around both days. History Channel 5280 just wanted to say that your stream of the draft was way better than ESPN's. I had no idea how to feel about the picks until UNCT broke them down.
I will say this, man. Arguably, my favorite 5 minutes of our entire show history was the 5 minutes where we were waiting. It's underrated that this happened.
This is probably why they couldn't get the Spurs to call them back.
Yeah,
because they waited too long.
Dude, I'm telling you, did you when they were on the clock and 4 of the 5 minutes get wasted, then they go to commercial break, and it was so many commercials. And we're like cracking jokes. They were weird commercials. It was hilarious on the stream. Yeah. Then they come back and it says the pick is in for no fewer than 5 more minutes. And we're all sitting there. It's underrated that we waited that long, and then it was like the pick is traded.
They were waiting for the Spurs to call him back.
It was honestly my favorite. You have to go back and watch the stream, right? Like that lead up to the pick, because it was honestly hilarious.
What was going to be the best commercial for a player to get drafted during?
And I'll just let you see
and it was Blue Chew.
I understand that reference. Yeah, that's the funniest possible redo of the Yoke scenario.
Oh my God.
Carrot Hammer, is there a world that Yoke reworks his contract to relive some of his funds for team use? No, there's not.
There is a world. It's not this one.
There's not. In fact, I think it's more likely that he doesn't even sign it.
Just wants the most money.
Can I say something about that though? Like, do we think more max level star players will do this?
No.
After Jalen Brunson?
No.
0% chance.
I don't think so. We'll see.
I think a couple guys might.
So it didn't burn him, man. But more often than not, you do something like that, you get burned. Your team just ends up not good, and we'll see though.
Yeah,
we'll see.
Yeah,
Macaru. At this point, why didn't we just draft Sanak Jr.? They probably didn't like him.
Probably just didn't like him.
Mal Dog. And I'm telling you guys, they like the seconds they got. Mall Dog, Arkansas alum, lifetime Nugs fan, first ever super chat.
Look at this guy.
When we lost to the Wolves, I went to the offseason wanting Brazile. Couldn't have been a better pick for what we need next to Jokic. He'll be A+. Dude, how about this? A guy who's $10 stoked about the pick.
I know, man. I'm into this. I'm into this though.
Might be related to Brazil.
Yeah, but you also just turned my day around.
Yeah, let's go.
Smugnug, we are all optimists, but I have this deep feeling of reality that we will end up doing nothing and just add another 36-year-old vet. Joke's on you, they're going to shed salary.
Yeah, I was
Spencer
gonna
Dinwiddie's
say.
only 35.
Hashtag we know the Cronkies. Al Swearingen,
He was in
8321.
Boulder yesterday, you
Hey,
see?
no, I didn't really.
He was in Boulder.
Stay tuned.
Connolly is going wild, but at least he has the balls to make major moves. He might even sign Spencer Dinwiddie next just to ruin Adam's summer.
Come on. Don't ruin my
a good
summer.
final note.
Dinwiddie. Not Dinwiddie, our guy.
Hey, we're going to get out of here
Hit
before
that
overtime.
outro music.
Appreciate
Yeah.
you.
Everybody, thanks for hanging out with us. Casual Friday tomorrow, which will be our last fun show before things get crazy on Tuesday. Stay tuned. See you tomorrow.
We all silly like the mayor.